Every morning, I wake up at approximately 9:40 because I'm scared of my alarm, followed by me cranking my hog deep style. After my morning wee-whiz, I must apply 500 different layers of makeup and moisturizer to hide any silly little blemishes, my eye bags, or any wrinkles. In this competitive dog-eat-dog world, any apparent weaknesses your peers may see will be attacked and exploited without a second thought. My breakfast is 3 Adderall, 2 Percocets, and a slice of white toast with an egg. Of course, I value my nutrition, but I can't gain too much weight or I'll be the doughboy of the office, and simply that would make me an extra big target. There is an idea of a Wamstein, some kind of abstraction, but there is no real me, only an entity, something illusory. And though I can hide my cold gaze, and you can shake my hand and feel flesh gripping yours, maybe you can even sense our lifestyles are probably comparable, I simply am not there.
Wamstein.
Hey, who the hell was that guy? Is he bothering you? Now I know, Nitro Red just did a video about this, and it may look like I'm trying to ride off his well-timed coattails. Suits is an RPG Maker game from 2016, and in a landmark moment for this channel, it's the first game I'm talking about that has a price tag. I know, you might be breaking the bank a little on this one, but I hope you'll come to understand it's absolutely worth the price, and more. Now, let's get the typical video essay that's actually a plot synopsis shit out of the way, because this game has something to say, and I've got something to say about it. Let's hop to it. We play as the guy. Very telling and distinct, I know, but don't get distracted. Today is our first and only day of business school where we learn the mechanics of the game, and it's your typical old RPG Maker game, except there's kind of some jank when it comes to interacting with things, which is... we'll talk about that later. After acing our classes and making it out at the top, the rest of our class is incinerated due to budget cuts, but hey, you know how it is. It's just business. That's gonna be our big motto of why things are the way they are in this world and what motivates these people. It's simply all in the name of business. Due to being the top of our class via process of elimination, we are subsequently hired by the CEO of the office district, who sends us out to deal with some old lady who won't pay up. Along the way, I grab this guy named Jerome, who I use as a big shield in the way, so that I don't die, because wow, old lady can throw hands. She's dispatched though, and we're off to the law district where we pay off the judge and have the old lady sent to super hell or some shit, who cares, she got her comeuppance. We seem to have some contraband though, so on our way out we're confronted by some guards who we take care of, followed by the judge, who we also have really no issue with. Then our boss comes out and says he's really disappointed in us, and now I'm sad, but we kill him anyway and we're on to Financial. Financial has us unite 2 warring banker tribes over who gets to use the rubber ducky before we're allowed into the synagogue. Inside, we take our shirt off for the rest of the game and make our way to the top of the building where we fight the funny money men. Once they're down, we jump down to the Undercity where we're tasked with defeating the loan sharks and 1 lone dolphin. Along our Japanese government-sponsored shark killing spree, we enter a house and shit on the floor, only for the occupant, a Tyrannosaurus Rex, to walk in on us. In a moment of panic, we make him extinct and continue about our shark-killing adventure. Once the tiger shark and the dolphin go, we're after Great White. Kicking his ass gives us a key we need to join the collectivist revolution, who swiftly send us to kill another loan shark. This time it's a hammerhead. Well, he's dead, but before we can return to HQ, the CEO of Financial, Lone Renzo, stops us to have a chat. He's no match for our mighty prowess, though, so we easily take care of him and move on. The collectivists now want us to hijack a helicopter so we can move troops into the food district. Easily said and even easier done. The pilot guarding the copter was too busy smoking epic fucking weed to notice he was dying. Unfortunately, we crash land the copter, but we're in the food district now, so that's okay. We discover the not-so-shocking secret that all dissenters and undesirables are sent to the meat buildings where they're turned into product producing slaves. Some are even turned into meat for sandwiches once their usefulness is at an end. Making our way through, we slap around some chefs and gain a new ally, Meat Kid, before killing CEO Chef, who kind of felt like he was just haphazardly slapped in here, but whatever. After that, the pizza pirates have us kill some minimum wage workers for, some reason. I guess they're fast food rivals. We're out of here. We leave the food district and head on over to Media, where we have to kill the 4 guardian spirits or some shit in order to cross the Rainbow Bridge into the CEO's big office. We kill a funny and timely boy band joke. Literally me, the ultimate gamer, John Internet, and Skippity Toilet. Each of their fortunate deaths grants us a key. Using the keys, we move forward but are stopped by 2 rock-hard bodies which we must sadly kill. We go inside and confront the CEO of Suit City himself, who, while fighting us, explains that him and the guy are actually clones of the real CEO, and the shareholders are trying to keep this constant cycle of something or other perpetuating so they stay in power. We, like the good financial puppet we are, do not listen to him and punch him out of the window, to which we are celebrated, and the collectivist leader immediately starts taking the power to his head. Credits roll, and that's the story. Got all that? Good, now let's go a little more into detail. How's about it? Now, what may come as a shock to you is this game, very subtly, does not like corporate America and consumer culture. But does it have anything to say beyond consumer bad, though? Surprisingly, for a group of teenagers in 2016, yes, it has quite a bit to say. Not that there aren't the usual trappings of trying to be really witty and clever political commentary, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Firstly, why make it an RPG? You see a lot of people going into game dev that have some kind of message or story to tell tend to go to RPGs, but why? In this case, it's probably because RPG Maker is easy, but in that way, I think they lucked out because it adds something to the commentary. The corporate world is ruthless, brutal. You're always waiting for your next turn, and you have no room to breathe. Any relationships you make are simply to further yourself, and their needs must come second to your own, or else you might get hurt. That's the mindset the combat puts you in, at least until you're high enough level and well-dressed enough to just ignore encounters. But that's only at the end, and to a degree I think that fits the theming of the game, where really if you are a better businessman, you are not going to have to deal with the struggles of the lower class anymore. But is that it, though? The only reason to be an RPG is for some made-up message? Not really. RPGs are often chosen for these kinds of games for the simple fact that they are the easiest avenue to tell a deep and involved story without sacrificing that this is still a game. You know, you're here to play shit, not be told shit, exactly. There's a lot of optional little secrets you can just choose to miss here. A lot of it being for comedy's sake, but occasionally you'll get a guy hinting at the deeper lore, which is all an allegory for how the corporate world will take any promising new guy and turn it into the exact problem he was meant to solve, or else he'll be spit out to die. The cycles of the CEO being conquered by the guy is meant to keep the shareholders in power. It's self-consuming and reassuring. That's why at the end, the CEO begs us to join together. Only the top rung can make the actual permanent difference that needs to be made. And once that top rung realizes there is a problem, oh no, here comes the guy, you're getting punched out that window. We decline his offer to make an actual meaningful difference because, as someone being promised a great future of change for the little guys, we're blind to the fact that we have no real control throughout our entire adventure. Now that the collectivists are in power, they're going to turn into the exact power and money-hungry tyrants they hated so much. That's what this game is really all about. An absurd and comedic look at the absolutely corrupting force of power. There's a bit early in the game in the Law District where you solve a crisis between the right wing of the office building and the left wing of the office building. Now this may come as a surprise, but this is absolutely about American bipartisan horseshit. But instead of doing the obvious my side good thing that usually happens, especially with the people at the time making this being like teenagers or really, really young, instead, this little side quest is about how both sides will abandon what they supposedly live and die for to keep each other in power and thriving. It's not very subtle, but for 2016, this is unheard of. You know, we were just entering the Drumpf era of online political discussion. We're still feeling the waves of that. In fact, I think they're coming back. In the financial district, when we get our shirt stolen from us, that's one of the other optional bits. That, while a weird joke that ultimately has no punchline other than, you have no shirt forever now, we can kind of observe it from the lens we've been given. Did these kids put this in just because it was funny and weird? Probably, but we, adults with poisoned minds, can look at this persecuted group hiding from their peers. They take the first opportunity to thrust their vision and world onto you, the player. Oftentimes, people of a less fortunate stature in society and life will look for some semblance of acceptance or normality, not understanding that normal is just an average and isn't really real itself. In this pursuit of normalcy, they often otherize different groups as well, and thrust their world onto people that otherwise don't really fit beyond a surface level. This isn't necessarily their fault. We as humans need somewhere to fit in. We're social creatures. Outcasts search for other outcasts in an odd way. Ultimately, though, this feeds back into the perception that they are predatory to the people that they wish would accept them, despite that not being the real case. But once you're on the outside, it's hard to be accepted back in until the big cliques get something out of accepting you. We see this all the fucking time in America, example being rainbow capitalism, which I'm a staunch capitalist. I believe in meritocracy and how awesome money is. But yeah, I absolutely see that our current structure is exploiting the less fortunate, including stupid homos like myself, all just for a quick buck that they probably aren't even gonna get. Is it any coincidence that the hidden scene that's about acceptance and hiding your true self is a scene about freeing your nipples? Probably, but in this kind of narrative, we can't really leave any stones unturned. Alright, this is all getting a little heavy for me. I set out to make this channel mostly for comedic and lighthearted purposes. Mind if we take a break? I hope you said yes. I think the best moment this game has to offer the player is the dinosaur scene. You just entered the Undercity. You don't know what's going on just yet. There's a lot to process, so you talk to the nearest guy. He asks you to go into the house nearby and shit on the floor. Being the upstanding citizen you are, of course you oblige and enter in. Upon completion of the dirty deed, the dinosaur walks in, deeply upset that you would shit on his nice floor. Swiftly he attacks, but unfortunately for him, our party is more powerful and attractive, and we lay him to rest. Throughout the battle, we, of course, are met with the greatest song in the soundtrack.
Dinosaur, 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 dinosaur.
And after all this happens, we get an achievement that's a joke about the song Do the Dinosaur, and that's it. That's what it was building up to. This never comes back. This isn't important. This means fuck all. We just shit on the floor and that's it. What makes a good joke? Some say the only method is a solid setup and satisfying punchline, but I think we've evolved past that being the only method of telling a joke. Unless you're one of those assholes that says all songs are in 4/4. Every joke that works actually is a setup and a punchline if you twist the meanings and lie. As an example, a lot of the comedy I try to do here is based on subversion, or often I'll act a way that's antithetical to my real self. We've gotten to know each other by now, right? You're parasocial for me now. We can be like that. Please? Like, I'm not actually all that opinionated or outright hateful in IRL real life, but when playing a character, it's absolutely going to be played up because you might chuckle. All this comes back to, why is the dinosaur scene a good joke? Simply, it's an absurd situation that gets played off seriously and isn't called out for being, whoa, is that a freaking dinosaur? Wait, what? And you're pooping? What? What? That'd fucking ruin the moment, but they played it off like you're actually doing something seriously wrong, and you kill a guy for it. Absurdity is a powerful tool when used correctly, but it can be taken too far. Yick! But thankfully, the whole setup of Suits is based around it being a comedic political statement. It's not wholly about saying something. There's room for off-the-wall, off-color weird shit. It's also only like 4 hours long, so you're not being bombarded over an entire full-length RPG's worth of time with meaningless horse shit. I think that also helps with why the jokes land, is that this isn't going to overstay its welcome. By the time you're starting to think, do you really have anything else you could possibly say? It's about time it's coming to a close. There's a lot of jokes and commentary in this game that, instead of being through text, they come through enemy designs, such as the Doc Gorillas. Yeah, it makes sense to some degree. Big arms lift big box, but these are supposed to be regular people. No attention is drawn to it at all. They kind of just exist. Same with the guards. They're dogs on their hind legs with humans chained up on all fours. It's a quick, simple role reversal, but it gets a easy chuckle when you don't see it coming. Other enemies have more of a statement to make in their design, like CEO Chef. This blobula is all about blind consumerism and how the rich get fat off the poor. I know, deep and unheard of message, but it had to be in there in some form eventually. It's core to the overall message of top-down corporatism. It's one of the few times where I felt like, is this really saying anything? Is this really anything people haven't heard a million times? Real quick, let's talk about the mechanics. So, you know how RPG Maker games work by now, right? You should know this by now, I think. But I'll be nice, and we're gonna go over it, just in case. So, movement is the arrow keys, which I don't like that. I'm never gonna get used to that, I think. I'm not like 12 anymore, I don't use arrow keys. You can interact using Z or the space bar, which usually just means walking up to something from any angle and interacting with it, but For some reason in this game, some objects only really are accepted when they're above you or from a specific angle. You can only interact with them, and it just gets in the way. It's weird. Super obtuse, and probably my biggest gripe against this game, honestly. Then we've got combat. You've got all your very standard options here. You got attack, special attacks, defense, and items. You can also run away if you just don't want to be here. I often did this during the Undercity because items were hard to come by, new equipment hard to come by, money hard to come by, experience really hard to come by. So you just go fight the bosses. Your main character, the guy, uses TP as his resource. It generates as you attack and take damage, and it can't be filled up outside of combat, so you're always going to start at a low number and build towards your more damaging attacks. There is also Jerome, who uses fuel. This can be filled up outside of combat and is instead a depleted resource. It's the typical mana you might expect. Meat Kid also uses TP, so he's gonna build up to his abilities throughout the battle, but he has a lot more of a supporting role than the guy. The guy is more of a damager. Meat Kid can heal himself, give fuel to Jerome, he can raise everyone's defenses, he's also got a really bad attack stat. But huge health pool. He is a very good supportive tank. Jerome usually just became useless once he didn't have any fuel left, so I would use him either to just soak up damage, maybe get some stray hits in, or mostly just he would use items because he had no other purpose. His fuel restoring items are expensive, hard to come by, and I'd rather just go buy healing items or new equipment than waste money on Jerome having a chance to do fuck all with his attacks. Because everything in this game is just a chance, maybe it won't. That's why Meat Kid was so welcome to the party. I was just so excited to have someone that could fucking do something. Defending in this game is really not something I ever did, unless maybe if I did it as an accident, but I would never do it intentionally because just like in most RPGs, honestly, you would never know when you should defend. There's no idea of telegraphing, so unless there's a pattern going on that you can recognize, but unless there's that, defense never is an option for me. Anyway, back to the messaging of the game. I think my ultimate takeaway is that if you fucking hate corporatism, this game will show you a new way to hate it that you didn't know previously existed. And I think that's freaky sweet, Lois. Something like that. Let's talk about the fucking music. This is the first game on the channel where the whole soundtrack is original, and I'm so fucking excited to talk about this. This has just been stuck with me for like 9 years now. Starting with the battle theme. I know I keep throwing questions at you, but what makes a good battle theme? It has to get you excited. It needs to drive you forward. There needs to be some kind of momentum there. But it can't be too over the top or it'll get really grating to hear every 5 seconds when you trigger another random battle. Luckily, here in Suits, we're blessed with the song Ash Trumpet, which, wow, great name. I couldn't think of anything better to describe this sound. It's definitely got a, drive. It's kind of discordant, which I don't know how intentional that is, but it definitely is a battle theme. That much is true. There's no fucking drums for some reason, but I guess we didn't need them anyway. Moving on, how about the Lone Shark fight theme, Advanced Sharkness? The heavily repeating downcast melody evokes some kind of darkness, and then when the ghostly synths come in, it's kind of like an old action horror flick, almost out of Jaws if Jaws were composed by a relatively talented high schooler. Now, for my personal favorite track, we've already had a little bit of a discussion on this. Triassic Narc. For when you fight the dinosaur.
Dinosaur, 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 dinosaur. Dinosaur, 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 dinosaur. Dinosaur, dinosaur, dinosaur. Dinosaur! Dinosaur! Ah! There's dinosaurs everywhere! Oh god! Oh, they're eating people! Who thought this was a good idea? Oh my god! Ah! Ah! Dinosaur! Dinosaur! Yeah! Oh my god!
I mean, what could I possibly say, aside from this being a stroke of genius? Send this to Anthony Fantano. He's gonna rate this 5 big booms. When he screams, "Dinosaur, ah," you can feel in his heart how hurt he is that there is in fact a dinosaur. In the song, there's even multiple. This has clearly weighed heavy on the man's mind as he questions all that had led up to this dire circumstance, but is ultimately resigned to his fate, or as he puts it, the dinosaurs are eating everyone. How about maybe the most important track in the game? The main theme, Pain Station. For one, I really like the driving pulse of the beat, however muted it is, which is really the word I use for the whole song. Muted. Everything feels and sounds so distant and kind of hollow, which really fits the theme of corporatism and consumerism being shallow stand-ins for being an actual human being and what it turns real humans into. That's enough of that, I think. You can discover more of the music on your own and come up with your own feelings. Better yet, play the game. Moving on, how about them there that, the graphics? I will not lie, this is not the prettiest, most appealing game to look at. It's entirely in black and white, which, if that's not a constraint due to using hand-drawn art for the battle sprites, it is a really neat stylistic choice. It makes the world feel more lifeless and dreary, which fits right in. Going back, them battle sprites, am I right? There's obviously a kind of amateur jank to them, but I really don't think it hurts the visuals at all, except for like the overworld standard sprites kind of suck, but they're serving their purpose. I'm not hurt. In battle though, these things are just oozing with style, and like I said before, there's little jokes to pick up in each of them that are just kind of there for the funny. I'm a big fan of what becomes the standard jobber enemies, the suits. These guys are just silly. We've got Jimmy Longlegs, homosexual joke, freaky deaky, and many more. Now I could show you every single sprite in the game and analyze their deeper meanings, but I really don't feel like it, so we're gonna move on. By now you may be saying to yourself, okay, so I get it's a commentary on corporate America and consumerism, but what's actually happening in the story itself? This is stupid, and I'd really appreciate if you'd refrain from interrupting me, but yeah, let's get back to that. So, those collectivists sure are something, huh? We're gonna gather all the downtrodden, overthrow the Tsar, and enact a dictatorship in which everyone is equally poor. No wait, sorry, wrong group. No, yeah, the collectivists feel like a direct parallel to the Soviets and how, in their pursuit of avenging the lesser man, they very quickly became one of, if not the most evil regimes we've ever seen. Like, yeah, it's a promising start, but put all of your power in one man and yeah, that power goes to his head because absolute power corrupts absolutely. So, using the guy, they take over Suit City and plan to move onward and conquer more because that's just how it goes. Foolishly though, we only assumed the CEO had died, as really he landed on a mattress and God only knows what he may be planning from here. No doubt something to take out the shareholders, seeing as he's got a hell of a vendetta against them. And God only knows what the collectivists are doing. Unfortunately, I think we're gonna have to wrap Suits up around here. A bit unceremonious, I know, but we've got a beast of a sequel to cover, and if I'm right in my assumptions, it's going to tackle everything we've talked about here, and then some. So I hope to see you next time for Suits Absolute Power. Have a good night.